Hi guys, as you can see, I have the car jacked up again. If you remember one of my videos, I made a video on how to refill your brake fluid. One of my viewers commented on the video and said that I should check the brakes to make sure they're good. So after a lot of checking, I found out that all 4 brakes were good. The pads weren't too worn, there were no leaks around there. So then I got under the car, and this is what I found. Okay, we are under the car, and as you can see, these are the brake lines right here. So I've started following them a little bit back, and I noticed this one hose right here going off to the side. I looked up, and this is what I found. That is the clutch slave cylinder, and this is where all my brake fluid's going. It's all leaking out through this guy. So after doing some research, I found that the slave cylinders, they have this little boot in here, right in there. There's a little rubber boot in there. After a while, those boots just disintegrate and go bad, whatever, and they start letting the brake fluid through. This is common for a high mileage car. My car has about 260k, so it does have quite a high mileage, so I'm going to be replacing the clutch slave cylinder in this video. Okay, so I got my 13mm socket on my ratchet with this extension here. The reason you need a longer extension is so that you can get to this bolt up here, right up there. That's the top bolt on there. And then once you get that done, you can probably still keep the extension on. You can get the second bolt off. So using the 13mm socket, I'm going to get this bolt and this bolt down here off. Okay, so I just pulled the cylinder off. Strong recommendation right here. Wear safety goggles if you're doing this, because there is brake fluid that does leak out of here. Like right there, you can see I have a drop of brake fluid forming just from tipping it. Wear your safety goggles, because as soon as you pull it out, there will be a lot more fluid coming out than this. Next thing I'm going to do is remove this bolt right here. I'm probably going to put some penetrating oil on it, let it sit for just a few seconds, just so it can do its job, so I can take this guy off right there. Okay, so a quick tip for you guys. Make sure you have a lot of .4 brake fluid. I just took off the slave cylinder and my level has already dropped significantly. So what I would do, make sure you have extra fluid. Keep it up so that it doesn't run out, because as soon as you're out, this thing goes dry, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Okay, so as you can see, it's been hanging here for a while. It's been soaking. Next thing I'm going to do is try to remove this brake line here. So the thing is, I don't have the proper tool to remove brake lines. Instead, I'm going to just use a regular wrench like this. They make special ones just to remove brake lines. I don't have one, so I'm going to use this one. This is an 11mm. I'm going to make an attempt to break this bad boy loose, and we'll see what happens. Okay guys, after fiddling around with it a little bit, I've gotten it loose to the point where I can just turn it and it's going to be coming off. So you might ask me, why are you doing this? Like, why didn't you keep the cylinder on and then just unscrew this while you were up there? Reason is, the slave cylinder stands in like this. So this thing, the brake hose, it's in a really weird spot to where I don't think I would be able to reach it. So what I'm going to do, since there's still brake fluid in here, what I'm going to try to do really quickly, and this is going to be off camera by the way, because I'm not going to be able to do this while holding the camera and swapping these out. I'm going to try to really quickly put this brake line, take it off of here, and put it on here, right where this little blue tab is. That's my whole goal here, and I'll tell you how that goes here in a bit. Okay, so it wasn't the cleanest swap. I went through quite a bit of brake fluid. I'm going to go up top, check it out, see what's happening, add more fluid as needed, and then we'll get back down to here and finish up with this bad boy. Okay, now that I'm under the car, my next step is going to be to bleed the slave cylinder. What I'm going to do, I'm going to let gravity do its job for a little bit. I've got this 5/16 nut right here. I'm going to hang this bad boy up here so that this bleeder valve faces down. Then I'm going to open it and let gravity do its job. Okay, as you can see, it's dripping out pretty good. I'm going to close it up with my finger. I'm going to push on the white stem of it a few times, and I'm going to release the bleeder to see what comes out. Okay, so after playing around with it, I've got it pretty solid. I'm going to be now putting it back in. So before we put it in, see this little white tip on here? This tip stays on the slave cylinder. You keep it on the rod. So what you got to do, put a little grease on it. This is going to go back into the transmission, and this is just to keep the tip from wearing out, keeping it safe. Okay, so I got it back in place. I've got it tightened it down a little bit. Now I'm going to just torque these 2 bolts down. The torque rating is 17 foot-pounds per bolt. So 17 here, 17 there. Okay, so the last thing to do is to bleed the cylinder. We gravity bled it, but the pedal is still kind of spongy. It's got a spongy feeling. I mean, it pushes really soft and then it goes really hard, really fast. So we're gonna take care of that issue by bleeding it. Basically what you do, it's easier if you have a friend helping you out. You have your friend get in the car. Compress the pedal all the way down until it can't go any farther. Once they can't push any farther, what you do, release the bleeder valve until the fluid slows. Once it slows, close the valve, have them let go of the pedal, and then press the pedal again, and just repeat it until you get the firm feeling you want from the pedal and until there's no more air coming out of the system. Okay guys, so I thought I'd mention a few things before we completely wrap everything up. So say you're bleeding the clutch, you already put the clutch back onto the transmission and you're compressing the clutch pedal and the clutch pedal goes soft. You decompress and it doesn't come back. What you have to do then is take out the slave cylinder again. You have to take it out and again manually bleed it. I had to do that. I didn't record it, but I had to do that because it went soft and there was no pressure in the system. So I had to bleed it again by hand, put it back in. That was a pain. Another thing, why you do not want to bleed the system with the slave cylinder out. So you say you have the slave cylinder out and you want to bleed it with the clutch pedal. Reason you do not want to do that is because that little rod with the white tip on it, the plastic tip, if you push the clutch pedal in, that rod will pop out. From all the reading I did, from the research I did, if you push the clutch pedal in, that rod will pop out. And as soon as it pops out, from what I understand, your slave cylinder is basically garbage. You might as well just get a new one. So when you're bleeding the system, if the slave cylinder is out, bleed it by hand. Once you put it back into place, then you can bleed it with the clutch pedal. So if you get stuck in any of those are a few helpful tips that might come in hand. Thanks.